Dr. James Reed stared at the data scrolling across his monitor, his coffee gone cold beside him. For the fourth consecutive night, the same pattern appeared in the radio telescope's readings. It wasn't random cosmic noise or a glitch in the system. The signal was structured, deliberate, and unmistakably artificial. "Tom, come look at this," he called to his colleague. Dr. Thomas Wilson shuffled over, his eyes widening as he examined the screen. "My God," Tom whispered. "It's perfectly consistent. Those aren't random pulses." The signal had first appeared 96 hours ago, a series of mathematical sequences transmitted from somewhere near the Epsilon Eridani system, approximately 10.5 light-years away. The pattern began with prime numbers, then shifted to what appeared to be a form of binary communication. "We need to alert Director Morgan," James said, already reaching for the secure phone. Within hours, the modest radio astronomy facility in New Mexico became the epicenter of the most significant discovery in human history. Government vehicles arrived before dawn, and by noon, the president's science advisor was on site personally. "You're certain this isn't terrestrial interference?" asked Director Morgan, a stern woman with decades of experience at NASA. "Positive," James replied. "We've triangulated with 3 other observatories. The signal originates from Epsilon Eridani, and it's directed specifically at Earth." As the team worked to decode the transmission, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lisa Parker, a linguist specializing in mathematical communication theory, identified a pattern in the signal that appeared to be coordinates, spatial coordinates for a meeting point halfway between our solar system and Epsilon Eridani. "They want to meet us," she explained, her voice trembling with both excitement and apprehension. "And they've given us the exact location." The implications were staggering. An advanced civilization had not only detected humanity's presence, but had calculated precisely how to make contact in a way humans could understand. The signal contained instructions for a propulsion system, unlike anything Earth scientists had conceived. Technology that could make interstellar travel possible within a human lifetime. As the team worked through the night, decoding more of the message, a sobering realization dawned. The aliens weren't simply extending a friendly greeting. Their message contained a warning. "Others listen. Others watch. Prepare yourselves." James stared at the translated text, his mind racing. "They're not just saying hello," he said quietly. "They're recruiting us." The question that haunted everyone that night was simple yet profound. Why would an advanced alien civilization need humanity's help? What role did they envision for Earth in whatever cosmic drama was unfolding among the stars? As dawn broke over the New Mexico desert, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The stars, once distant and silent, had spoken, and their message suggested that the galaxy was a far more complex and dangerous place than anyone had imagined. The news broke worldwide 48 hours later. Despite government attempts to contain the information, a junior technician at the observatory had leaked the discovery to an online forum. Within minutes, the post went viral, and within hours, every major news network on the planet was reporting on humanity's first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Global financial markets plummeted, then rebounded wildly as speculation ran rampant about the technological implications. Religious leaders called for calm while privately struggling to reconcile their doctrines with this new reality. In major cities, crowds gathered in streets and parks, their eyes turned skyward in wonder and apprehension. At the United Nations, an emergency session convened with unprecedented attendance. The Secretary General's address was broadcast to an estimated 4 billion viewers. "We stand at a moment that transcends national interests and historic rivalries," she declared. "This discovery belongs not to any single nation, but to humanity as a whole. Our response must reflect our unity as a species." Her words were noble, but the reality proved messier. Behind closed doors, governments scrambled to position themselves advantageously. Military strategists revised defense scenarios while intelligence agencies reoriented surveillance priorities toward space. In Washington, President Robert Harlow convened a special committee comprising the nation's top scientists, military leaders, and diplomatic experts. The message mentioned others watching, noted General Adam Foster, the Joint Chiefs Chairman. We need to assume there are multiple alien civilizations, possibly with competing interests. We can't approach this naively. Dr. Mary Davis, the recently appointed head of NASA, pushed back. The technology they shared, this propulsion system, it's centuries beyond our capabilities. If they wanted to harm us, they could have. They chose to warn us instead. The debate raged similarly in capitals around the world. In Beijing, the Central Committee established a dedicated agency to analyze the propulsion technology. The European Union created an international scientific coalition, while Russia quietly began retrofitting its space launch facilities. Private industry entered the fray with astonishing speed. Tech billionaire Victor Lang announced a $10 billion initiative to develop the alien propulsion system, promising a prototype within 5 years. Aerospace corporations worldwide shifted research priorities overnight. Meanwhile, a grassroots movement called One Earth gained millions of followers within days. Their message resonated with many. Humanity needed to resolve its internal conflicts before engaging with extraterrestrial civilizations. We can't present ourselves as a divided species, argued One Earth's founder, Professor Anna Wright, during a widely viewed online lecture. If we approach this encounter fractured along national, ideological, or economic lines, we risk being manipulated by forces we barely understand. 72 days after the first signal, a unified response was finally transmitted toward Epsilon Eridani. The message, crafted by an international committee and approved by the UN Security Council, acknowledged receipt of the coordinates and expressed humanity's cautious willingness to establish contact. What no one publicly admitted was that work had already begun on a vessel utilizing the alien propulsion technology. In a remote facility in the Australian outback, engineers from 12 nations worked in shifts around the clock, translating theoretical designs into physical reality. The ship had no name yet, but its mission was clear. Humanity would meet these aliens on equal terms, prepared for friendship or confrontation. Whatever awaited Earth among the stars, mankind would face it standing tall. 8 years passed before the starship Unity reached the designated coordinates. The vessel represented humanity's greatest collaborative achievement, a sleek, quarter-mile-long craft powered by the alien-inspired propulsion system that bent space-time in ways theoretical physicists were still struggling to explain. Captain Michael Anderson stood on the bridge, his 12-person international crew ready at their stations. After nearly 6 months of travel, they had arrived at the rendezvous point, a seemingly empty sector of space midway between Earth and Epsilon Eridani. All systems nominal, reported flight engineer Olivia Barnes. We're holding position at the exact coordinates. Now we wait, Michael said, trying to mask the tension in his voice. They didn't wait long. Just 14 minutes after arrival, sensors detected a distortion in the fabric of space ahead of them. A shimmering portal appeared, through which emerged a vessel of impossible beauty, its hull composed of what looked like flowing liquid metal that reflected starlight in iridescent patterns. Open communications on all frequencies, Michael ordered. Transmit the greeting sequence. The alien vessel responded immediately with a transmission that the Unity's computers translated in real time. The message was succinct. Follow us. Others must not detect this meeting. Michael exchanged glances with his executive officer, Commander David Chen. The mission protocols for this scenario were clear. Proceed with caution, but avoid potential offense. Helm, maintain a distance of 1 kilometer and match their course, Michael ordered. The alien ship led them through another spatial distortion into what the science team identified as a pocket dimension, a bubble of space-time, separated from normal space. Inside this bubble floated a modest space station, its architecture both familiar and alien, with sweeping curves that served both aesthetic and functional purposes. After docking procedures that matched almost exactly with the protocols the aliens had included in their initial transmission to Earth years ago, Michael led a 5-person team aboard the station. The air was breathable, the gravity Earth standard, accommodations clearly designed for human comfort. Their hosts waited in a circular chamber. The aliens called themselves the Arcanians, and their appearance was startlingly humanoid. Bipedal beings standing about 7 feet tall with silvery skin and large, multifaceted eyes that reflected light like opals. "We welcome humanity to the greater community," said the lead alien, who introduced himself as Delegate Leonard. His voice came through the translation matrix with perfect clarity. "Though we regret the circumstances that necessitate this meeting." Over the next several hours, the humans learned the truth. The galaxy was dominated by an ancient coalition called the Collective, a group of 17 species that maintained strict control over interstellar travel, communication, and technology sharing. New species were carefully evaluated before being granted membership, a process that typically took centuries. Your species developed radio technology and then advanced to primitive spaceflight with unprecedented speed, Leonard explained. This has concerned certain factions within the Collective. The Arcanians, it seemed, were something of outcasts themselves, a species that had joined the Collective millennia ago, but had grown disillusioned with its increasingly controlling policies. "We believe the Collective has become stagnant," Leonard continued. "They restrict innovation in the name of stability. Many of us see in humanity a necessary catalyst for change." The truth behind the warning became clear. The Collective was divided over how to handle Earth. Conservative factions advocated for quarantine or even preemptive measures to ensure humans couldn't threaten the galactic order. The Arcanians represented a progressive minority that saw potential in humanity's creativity and adaptability. "We cannot openly oppose the Collective," Leonard explained, "but we can prepare you, guide you, help you make the right impression when formal contact is established." As the meeting concluded, Leonard presented Captain Anderson with a data crystal containing information on collective protocols, technologies deemed acceptable for sharing, and diplomatic strategies. "You have perhaps 5 of your years before the Collective reaches consensus on formal contact," Leonard said. "Use this time wisely. When you meet them, you must appear both non-threatening and invaluable." As the human delegation prepared to depart, Leonard offered one final cryptic comment. "Your species possesses something rare in this galaxy, Captain, unpredictability paired with moral complexity. It terrifies them. It intrigues us." The Unity departed the pocket dimension carrying humanity's future among the stars, a future suddenly more complicated and perilous than anyone had imagined. The return of the Unity to Earth triggered a transformation unlike anything in human history. The knowledge contained in the Arcanian data crystal, carefully filtered through international security protocols, accelerated Earth's technological development by an estimated century within just 3 years. Medical nanobots eradicated most forms of cancer. Atmospheric processors began reversing climate change. Quantum communication networks rendered traditional internet obsolete. Each advancement was strategically released to demonstrate humanity's value potential to the watching collective. Yet these technological leaps paled beside the societal changes, the confirmed existence of alien civilizations, and humanity's precarious position among them, shattered old divisions and created new ones. "We cannot appear divided," became the mantra of the newly formed Global Coordination Council. This imperative drove unprecedented cooperation between former rivals, but also justified troubling restrictions on dissent. Professor Jack Miller, a political scientist at Oxford University, published a controversial analysis that gained traction worldwide. "The alien question has become the ultimate political sorting mechanism. Traditional left-right divisions are dissolving, replaced by a spectrum based on attitudes toward extraterrestrial engagement." He identified 3 dominant factions: integrationists who embraced alien contact as humanity's destiny, sovereigntists who advocated for cautious, limited engagement while maintaining independence, and isolationists who viewed all alien influence with suspicion. Nations found themselves internally divided along these new lines. In the United States, traditional political parties splintered as integrationist and sovereigntist wings emerged within each. China's government officially adopted a sovereigntist stance while quietly pursuing integrationist policies. The European Union became predominantly integrationist, while Russia led a bloc of sovereigntist nations. Military establishments worldwide underwent radical restructuring. The concept of planetary defense evolved from theoretical to urgent, with unprecedented resources directed towards space-based capabilities. The International Space Force, formed through the merger of various national programs, launched its first fleet of defensive vessels utilizing modified Arcanian technology. On the economic front, markets that had adapted to the initial shock now thrived on the implementation of alien technologies. The corporate landscape transformed as tech companies positioned themselves as crucial intermediaries in humanity's galactic emergence. Trillionaires emerged for the first time in history, their wealth built on successfully adapting alien concepts for human use. Religious institutions faced existential challenges. Some faiths experienced schisms, while others found surprising popularity offering frameworks that could accommodate extraterrestrial intelligence within their cosmologies. The Vatican established the Commission on Cosmic Creation, while Islamic scholars debated whether the Quranic references to worlds had indeed been referring to alien civilizations. Not everyone celebrated these changes. An underground human purity movement gained followers, rejecting all alien-derived technologies and advocating complete isolation from galactic affairs. Their manifesto, Earth Alone, warned that humanity was surrendering its cultural identity and independence in exchange for technological trinkets. 4 years after the Unity's return, as humanity raced to prepare for formal collective contact, tragedy struck. A research facility in Kenya, working on adapting Arcanian communication technology, was destroyed in an explosion that killed 63 scientists and support staff. The attack was claimed by the Earth Liberation Front, a radical isolationist group. In response, the Global Coordination Council implemented the Planetary Security Act, granting unprecedented authority to monitor and suppress anti-contact extremism. Civil liberties advocates warned of a dangerous precedent, while supporters argued that human infighting could doom Earth's standing with the collective. As the 5th anniversary of First Contact approached, humanity stood transformed, more unified yet more divided, technologically advanced yet socially strained, globally coordinated yet experiencing profound identity crisis. And somewhere among the stars, the representatives of 17 ancient civilizations deliberated on humanity's fate, while their Arcanian dissenters watched their human proteges with nervous anticipation. The arrival of the collective's assessment delegation came earlier than expected. 5 massive ships appeared in high Earth orbit without warning, their hulls bearing the distinctive markings of different member species. Their message was simple and direct: we come to evaluate. For 2 tense months, representatives from the collective conducted their assessment of humanity. They visited cities, observed governments, examined technological development, and interviewed citizens from all walks of life. Unlike the humanoid Arcanians, the collective species displayed remarkable diversity, from crystalline entities that communicated through light pulses to gaseous beings contained in engineered environmental suits. Throughout this process, Earth maintained a carefully choreographed presentation. Nations displayed unprecedented cooperation, downplaying internal conflicts and emphasizing humanity's potential contributions to galactic civilization. The Arcanian-provided playbook was followed meticulously, with humanity presenting itself as innovative yet respectful, ambitious yet responsible. On July 17, 2039, the collective delegation delivered their verdict from a specially constructed auditorium at the United Nations. The event was broadcast to every corner of Earth. The lead delegate, a towering avian being named Praetor Kex, addressed the assembled representatives of humanity. We have concluded that your species represents both extraordinary potential and significant risk. You develop technology at rates that violate predictive models. Your social structures evolve with concerning speed. Your adaptability exceeds all known parameters. A murmur ran through the audience as translation systems conveyed these words in hundreds of human languages. However, Kex continued, we also observe a capacity for ethical reasoning, cooperation under pressure, and cultural self-correction that suggests you may manage your own development responsibly. The collective's decision was unprecedented. Humanity would be granted provisional membership, a status never before offered in the collective's 20,000-year history. Earth would receive limited access to the collective's knowledge repositories and trading networks, while human representatives would observe collective governance processes. In return, humanity agreed to specific technology development restrictions and monitoring protocols. The most controversial requirement was the establishment of collective observation posts in our solar system. As the delegation departed, leaving humanity to digest these terms, a secure transmission arrived for Admiral William Grant, formerly Captain Anderson's executive officer and now head of Earth's diplomatic office. The message came through channels established during the Unity's mission. The outcome exceeds optimal scenarios. Linar's message read, the restrictions placed upon Earth are less severe than those imposed on any species in 3 millennia. More importantly, your provisional status grants you exceptional flexibility. The rigid species of the collective cannot imagine how quickly humans will navigate these constraints. The Arcanian message concluded with a revelation. You were not selected randomly. For centuries, we have sought a species with your particular combination of traits. The collective grows stagnant, bound by tradition and fear. It requires disruption from within, change that we ourselves cannot initiate without violating ancient oaths. Humanity is our catalyst. This message, shared only with Earth's highest leadership council, prompted intense debate. Were humans being manipulated as pawns in an ancient political struggle? Or was this alliance with the Arcanians truly in humanity's best interest? The decade that followed witnessed Earth's remarkable integration into galactic affairs. Human diplomats became known for creative solutions to deadlocked negotiations. Human artists created works that mystified and captivated alien aesthetes. Human scientists, working within collective restrictions, still managed innovations that surprised their alien counterparts. Gradually, humanity's influence extended beyond what its junior status should have permitted. The rigid hierarchies of the collective began showing signs of flexibility. Species that had been marginalized found humans willing to amplify their concerns. Ancient procedures were questioned, then modified. We're experiencing a renaissance, remarked a prominent Thelian philosopher in a widely distributed communication. The human perspective has reintroduced variables long removed from our equations. Not all collective members appreciated this disruption. A coalition of conservative species filed formal protests against humanity's cultural contamination. Security incidents involving human ships increased suspiciously. On Earth itself, society continued evolving. The initial unified purpose fractured as different visions for humanity's cosmic future competed. Some advocated for full collective integration, others for maintaining Earth's unique development path, and a growing movement pushed for closer alliance with the Arcanians and other reform-minded species. As the 20th anniversary of the first signal approached, Admiral Grant, now in his 70s, stood at the observation deck of Harmony Station, humanity's first major off-world diplomatic outpost. Below him, Earth gleamed blue and white, while around him, representatives of 30 species conducted the business of a changing galaxy. We were never meant to be a superpower in the traditional sense, he remarked to his aide. We're something far more significant. We're the catalyst. The true power humanity brought to the galactic stage wasn't military might or technological supremacy, but something the ancient civilizations had lost: the ability to imagine different futures and then bring them into being. In a galaxy grown rigid with age and protocol, humanity's greatest contribution was possibility itself. And somewhere in the vast chambers of the collective's central governance hub, the first human proposed resolution, calling for the reformation of membership protocols, passed by a narrow margin, sending ripples through an order that had remained unchanged for millennia. The galaxy's new superpower had arrived indeed, not with conquest, but with questions that had gone too long unasked. 10 years into humanity's provisional membership in the collective, disturbing patterns began to emerge. Admiral Grant, now serving as Earth's senior representative to the Collective Council, noticed subtle discrepancies between the information provided in official repositories and the observable reality of galactic affairs. "Something doesn't add up," he confided to his most trusted advisor, Dr. Helen Ward, a quantum physicist who had helped develop Earth's first FTL communication system. "The historical records show the collective has maintained peace for 20 millennia, but I found references to entire species going dormant after policy disagreements." Helen's investigation, conducted through both official channels and backdoor networks established with Arcanian help, uncovered a troubling truth. The collective's peaceful facade masked a history of ruthless suppression. Species that developed too quickly or questioned fundamental collective doctrines hadn't simply withdrawn from galactic affairs. They had been systematically constrained or, in extreme cases, subjected to targeted technological regression. The revelation came to a head when Helen accessed restricted archives through an Arcanian encryption key. The files revealed the existence of the Harmony Directive, the collective's classified protocol for managing destabilizing influences. "They've used it 17 times in their history," Helen reported during an emergency meeting of Earth's Security Council. "Each time against species showing rapid advancement and cultural characteristics similar to our own." The implications were clear. Humanity's apparent special status wasn't unique. Other species had been given similar opportunities before being deemed too disruptive and neutralized. More disturbing still was the discovery that the Arcanians had played this role before, identifying promising species and positioning themselves as mentors, only to step aside when the collective implemented containment protocols. When confronted through secure channels, Linnar offered a disturbing explanation. "The pattern you've identified is real, but misinterpreted. The Arcanians have indeed cultivated relationships with emerging species throughout our history, not to betray them, but to identify those with potential to finally break the cycle." According to Linnar, the Arcanians had spent thousands of years working within the system, guiding species with potential while appearing to comply with collective orthodoxy. Each failure provided data on collective methods and weaknesses. 17 attempts across 12,000 years, Linnar explained, each one teaching us more about how to prepare a species that could finally succeed where others failed. "You are the culmination of this work." The Security Council remained skeptical. Was this merely another layer of manipulation? Were the Arcanians playing an even longer game than the collective itself? Admiral Grant proposed a radical response. "We can't trust either side completely. We need to forge our own path." Operation Wildcard was born from this necessity, a classified initiative to develop technologies and strategies outside both collective restrictions and Arcanian influence. Hidden research facilities throughout the solar system worked on innovations that drew from both alien knowledge and uniquely human approaches. Meanwhile, humanity pursued a dual diplomatic strategy. Officially, Earth continued its integration into collective structures, with humans gaining positions on key committees and forging alliances with moderate factions. Unofficially, Admiral Grant cultivated relationships with species that showed signs of dissatisfaction with the status quo. The first test of this approach came when the Collective Security Directorate proposed installing harmonic resonance monitors throughout Earth's solar system, ostensibly to protect against external threats, but actually designed to detect unauthorized technological development. Rather than reject the proposal outright, Earth's representatives suggested modifications that would make the monitoring system more effective, changes that actually created blind spots for Operation Wildcard facilities. The proposal passed with overwhelming support, with only a few elder species registering suspicion. 3 years later, The fruits of Operation Wildcard provided humanity with its greatest advantage. The Nexus Protocol, a communications and data analysis system that operated on principles neither the Collective nor the Arcanians had explored. Unlike conventional quantum networks that could be monitored, Nexus utilized what Earth scientists called probability entanglement, a method of information transfer that appeared as random noise to outside observers. Through Nexus, humanity began building a shadow network of allies, species who had recognized the same patterns and harbored similar concerns about the Collective's true nature. The Vrani, insectoid engineers with unparalleled skill in materials science. The Tauric philosophers, whose unique perception of time had led them to predict the current crisis centuries ago. And most surprisingly, factions within several elder collective species who had grown disillusioned with the stagnation of their civilizations. As this alliance grew in secret, the Collective's internal monitoring systems began detecting anomalies, patterns of development and cooperation that didn't fit their predictive models. The conservative factions pushed for invocation of the Harmony Directive against Earth, only to find unexpected resistance from species that had historically supported such measures. The Grand Deception was working in both directions. The Collective believed it was managing humanity's integration, while monitoring for signs of dangerous innovation. The Arcanians believed they were guiding their chosen species toward a confrontation that would reform the galactic order. Neither recognized that humanity had long since begun charting its own course. On the 30th anniversary of the first signal, as the Collective Council debated increasing restrictions on human activities, Admiral Grant stood before Earth's unified leadership and delivered a historic address. "We now face a moment of tremendous risk and opportunity," he said, his voice steady despite his advanced age. "The Collective prepares measures to contain us, believing we remain unaware of their true intentions. The Arcanians expect us to serve as their proxy in a conflict they've orchestrated for millennia." He smiled slightly, the expression of a chess player seeing several moves ahead. "But we are neither puppet nor pawn. We are humanity. And we have prepared a third option." The confrontation that galactic historians would later call the Revelation began not with violence but with an invitation. Earth's representatives requested an extraordinary session of the full Collective Assembly, a gathering not held in over 2,000 years. The request itself caused considerable debate among the elder species. Such assemblies were traditionally called only for matters affecting the fundamental structure of galactic civilization. That humans would invoke such a privilege during their provisional membership was unprecedented, and to conservative factions, confirming evidence of their dangerous unpredictability. Nevertheless, the request gained surprising support from moderate collective members. The assembly was scheduled for the Galactic Common Date 4711-389, known on Earth as May 7, 2053. The Great Assembly Hall on the collective capital world of Terminus Prime, filled with representatives from all 17 full-member species, plus observers from provisional members and protectorate worlds. At the center of the hall stood Admiral William Grant, now in his final years, but still commanding respect with his presence alone. "Honored representatives of the Collective," he began, "humanity thanks you for this audience. We come before you today to present evidence of critical importance to the future of all species represented here." What followed was a masterfully orchestrated revelation. Grant activated a holographic display that filled the chamber, presenting data compiled through the Nexus Protocol. Information that the Collective had believed securely hidden. For 23,000 years, Grant continued, the Collective has maintained a policy known as the Harmony Directive, a systematic program to identify and neutralize species deemed too innovative or disruptive to the established order. Murmurs spread through the chamber as translation systems conveyed his words to hundreds of different physiologies. The elder species representatives shifted uncomfortably, while younger members displayed signs of confusion or alarm appropriate to their biology. This directive has been enacted 17 times, resulting in the technological regression of 12 species, the containment of 4, and the complete cultural restructuring of 1. Each instance was justified as necessary for galactic stability. Grant paused, letting the information settle before delivering the critical blow. What the collective leadership has concealed, even from most of its own members, is the true reason for this policy. It is not stability that motivates these actions, but fear stemming from a discovery made at the dawn of the collective's formation. The holographic display shifted to show astronomical data, ancient by any standard, depicting a region of space beyond the galactic rim. The founders of the collective detected evidence of an immensely advanced civilization that predated all known species by millions of years. This civilization appeared to have collapsed due to its own unchecked technological advancement. A catastrophe so complete that only scattered anomalies in space-time remain as evidence of their existence. Throughout the chamber, signs of shock and disbelief manifested across diverse biologies. Grant had just revealed the collective's most closely guarded secret, a revelation that constituted the highest form of treason under collective law. Before security forces could respond, hundreds of communication nodes throughout the assembly hall activated simultaneously, broadcasting the same information to every connected system in collective space. The Nexus Protocol, operating through the blind spots in collective networks, ensured that this revelation couldn't be contained. The collective was founded on the principle of preventing a similar catastrophe, Grant continued, his voice calm despite the growing chaos in the chamber. A noble goal that devolved into a policy of enforced stagnation. Innovation became feared rather than managed. Potential was suppressed rather than guided. He turned slowly, addressing all sections of the vast hall. Humanity understands this fear. Our own history is filled with technologies that threatened our existence, but we also learned that suppression breeds only ignorance and vulnerability. True security comes not from avoiding advancement, but from developing the wisdom to manage it. The display shifted again, now showing the outcome of Operation Wildcard, a proposed framework called the Adaptive Progress Protocol. Unlike the rigid restrictions of the Harmony Directive, this approach emphasized transparency, ethical guidelines, and collaborative oversight for emerging technologies. We do not come to dismantle the collective, but to transform it, Grant explained. The evidence we've presented is being shared throughout galactic civilization at this moment. The time for secrets is over. The time for a new approach has begun. In the days that followed, the collective experienced upheaval unlike anything in its millennia-long history. Species that had been kept in ignorance demanded accountability. Factions that had enforced the Harmony Directive attempted to maintain control. The Arcanians found their long game exposed, their manipulations laid bare alongside the collective's deceptions. Yet the outcome defied the predictions of both human strategists and alien observers. Rather than collapse, the collective began a painful but necessary transformation. The revelation of the ancient catastrophe, now discussed openly, created context for legitimate concerns while discrediting the extreme measures taken in its name. 3 years after the revelation, a reformed collective council ratified the Adaptive Progress Protocol. The new framework maintained coordination of technological development, but eliminated secret suppression. It acknowledged the risks of unchecked advancement while recognizing that diversity of approach created resilience rather than vulnerability. Admiral Grant did not live to see the full implementation of this new order. He passed peacefully in his sleep just days after the ratification, his life's work complete. His final recorded message to humanity became a cornerstone of Earth's new role in galactic affairs. We came to the stars expecting to find either empty silence or overwhelming power. Instead, we found civilizations grappling with the same fundamental questions we face: how to progress without self-destruction, how to maintain identity while embracing diversity, how to face the unknown with both caution and courage. Our gift to the galaxy wasn't superior technology or unprecedented intelligence. It was our unique perspective as newcomers unbound by ancient fears. We saw patterns that millennia of conditioning had made invisible to others. We questioned assumptions so old they had calcified into facts. Perhaps this is the true meaning of being a superpower in a universe of ancient civilizations, not domination, but illumination, not conquest, but revelation. We showed a galaxy trapped in stasis that there is always another way forward. The human expression, fresh eyes, entered the lexicon of 100 alien languages, signifying the value of perspectives, unbound by traditional constraints. Earth became known not as conquerors or disruptors, but as catalysts, a species that had transformed stagnation into renaissance through the simple, human act of asking, why not? And far beyond the galactic rim, in the region where an ancient civilization had once destroyed itself through unchecked advancement, automated probes from a dozen species, working in coordinated exploration for the first time in the collective's history, began methodically studying the anomalies, seeking to understand rather than fear the shadows of the past. The galaxy's newest superpower had revealed its true strength, the courage to face uncomfortable truths and the creativity to forge new paths through the darkness. In doing so, humanity had not only secured its place among the stars, but had helped an entire galaxy remember how to grow.